The Queen has cancelled her traditional pre-Christmas family party for the second year running, as the Omicron variant sends COVID cases soaring. The 95-year-old monarch was reported on Wednesday to be determined to press on with the lunch at Windsor Castle, at which she was expected to host 50 or so members of her extended family, including Prince Charles and Camilla. But on Thursday, she agreed that it would be irresponsible to go ahead, with a source suggesting the party could put too many people's Christmas arrangements at risk. This Christmas is the Queen's first since the death of the Duke of Edinburgh, her husband of 73 years. Last year's gathering was also scrapped because of the COVID crisis. A source said this is a precautionary measure taken in the midst of the steep rise of COVID cases in the UK. The insider explained this decision was made out of fears the lunch would put too many people's Christmas plans at risk. A senior palace source said, the pre-Christmas family lunch will not be going ahead. The decision is a precautionary one as it is felt to put too many people's Christmas arrangements at risk if it went ahead. While there is regret that it is cancelled, there is a belief it is the right thing to do for all concerned. Her Majesty is understood to still be committed to celebrating Christmas at Sandringham with a small number of close relatives, as she has been doing since 1988. However, she is expected to take advice in the coming days as to whether it will be safe to leave her home in Windsor and have guests in Norfolk. This move is likely to be a bitter blow for the Queen, who is preparing to mark her first Christmas without her husband Prince Philip. The Queen cancelled the traditional royal Christmas gathering last year due to the raging COVID crisis. Rather than host a lunch at Buckingham Palace for extended family and then travel to Sandringham, her 2-month-long stay, Her Majesty decided to remain in her COVID-safe bubble at Windsor Castle in the company of Prince Philip and loyal staffers. News of the Queen's cancelled plan comes after the UK hit a sad milestone on Wednesday, when the country recorded the highest number of lab-confirmed COVID cases since the beginning of the pandemic. The number of infections counted was 78,610, a jump likely supported as the Omicron variant is cutting through the population. The previous record was hit on January 8, when 68,053 infections were recorded. At the time, the UK was in full lockdown and had not yet faced the Delta and Omicron variants. The Queen's move also comes hours after Professor Chris Whitty, England's chief medical officer, said during Wednesday's Downing Street press conference people should be mindful of which events they attend in the run-up to Christmas. Speaking next to Prime Minister Boris Johnson, Professor Whitty told Britons not to mix with people you don't have to at events they deem most important to them. He also said, "I really think people should be prioritizing those things, and only those things, that really matter to them. Because otherwise the risk of someone getting infected at something that doesn't really matter to them and then not being able to do the things that matter to them obviously goes up. I don't think you need to be a doctor to think that. I think that's what most people are very sensibly calculating, and that seems to me a sensible approach." Mr. Johnson said people are already exercising more caution. He added, "I said many times that I thought this Christmas will be considerably better than last Christmas, and I stick to that. We're not cancelling events, we're not closing hospitality, we're not cancelling people's parties or their ability to mix. What we are saying is think carefully before you go. What kind of event is it? Are you likely to meet people who are vulnerable? Are you going to meet loads of people you haven't met before? And get a test." Most years, the Queen invites her children, grandchildren and great-grandchildren to join her at Buckingham Palace before she leaves for her annual Christmas stay at Sandringham. This year, 3 of her 4 new grandchildren, August, Lucas, and Sienna, were expected to attend, while the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, their son, Archie, and daughter, Lilibet, also born this year, would remain in the US. The pre-Christmas party would have been the first time so many family members had been together since Philip's funeral. The royal family traditionally later join the Queen at Sandringham on Christmas Eve and gather on the 25th of December before visiting St. Mary Magdalene Church. In 2020, the Queen and Philip spent Christmas Day together at Windsor without the rest of the family, having spent most of that year being cared for by a reduced number of staff in what was called HMS Bubble. The Queen has been carrying out only light duties since 20 October, when concerns for her health were heightened after her doctors ordered her to rest and she spent a night in hospital undergoing tests. recorded the highest number of lab-confirmed COVID cases since the beginning of the pandemic. The number of infections counted was 78,610, a jump likely supported as the Omicron variant is cutting through the population. The previous record was hit on January 8, when 68,053 infections were recorded. At the time, the UK was in full lockdown and had not yet faced the Delta and Omicron variants. The Queen's move also comes hours after Professor Chris Whitty, England's chief medical officer, said during Wednesday's Downing Street press conference people should be mindful of which events they attend in the run-up to Christmas. Speaking next to Prime Minister Boris Johnson, Professor Whitty told Britons not to mix with people you don't have to at events they deem most important.